Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti. I am MrPhotographer.com. I'm ready to take on another batch of images. I just want to take a quick second to thank everyone that has participated so far. I really do appreciate your enthusiasm for the project. And also, thank you to many of you that wrote such kind things in the email you sent to me. First of all, you're probably going to make my head really huge and I'm going to be difficult to live with for a while. But I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Now, what I'm going to be doing today are 40 images, and all of these images I received prior to April 11th. So, midnight, as soon as the clock ticked midnight, April 11th, all these images are before that. Now, if you sent me an image prior to midnight of April 11th, and I don't do it in this video, that means that either something got screwed up in getting it sent to me, or more likely, I screwed up and lost it somehow. And that is very likely. I get a lot of emails, so thank you for your understanding. And if I did lose it, I apologize. Just send it again. We have time. So I live in Buffalo, which is the Eastern time zone of the United States. So it's Eastern Daylight Time. So if you're trying to figure out the time that I might have received it, look at New York City time. So whatever time New York City time, that's the time I'm on. And anything I received prior to midnight today is going to be in this video. All right. The first image is from Thomas Reese. Tom says he used On One Photo Raw 2019. He envisioned a cold winter day right after a storm passing by. He definitely captured that. Very well done. This next song, where the heck did I get that from? Anyway, this next image is from Dwayne Bowman. He used Luminar 2018. Tried to make it look like a cloudy day. Did a great job. Very nice. This next one is from Mike Eastman. Let's see. He used Lightroom. He changed the white balance. He warmed it up a little bit. He brought the exposure down, contrast up, highlights up. All the tone sliders. He gave me the info for that. If anyone's interested, email me. I'll send it to you as per any of these that I mentioned. He did an adjustment brush on the grass, radial filter on the mirror on the sunrise. So I think he means right in here on the ice. And Aurora HDR. To boost a little and back to Lightroom and tone down the yellow overall. Let's see, he cropped it to center the sunrise a little better. So very cool, very cool. And here's one by Rita Deuce, and it's written in French. So obviously we flipped this one horizontally. Another one, that's the second one I think we have flipped horizontally. Looks like they used Lightroom. They used Silver Effects Pro 4. My French is very limited, so bear with me. They did Photoshop. Used a smart object in Photoshop, it looks like. And I don't know. Adjusted saturation in Photoshop. A couple words here and there. So basically, Photoshop, Lightroom, and the Nik collection. And Silver Effects Pro 4 in the Nik collection. This one is from Gordon Melrose. Let's see, processed in On One Photo Raw 2019, basic developing, then a blur and color enhancer to the sky, and some dodging and burning with the local brush to the foreground. And very cool, very nicely done. And this is from Pete Cap. Let's see, all done in Lightroom 5. Darken the clouds for drama, highlight the light coming through the clouds, and backlit the post and lighten the foreground. So pretty cool. This is from Jean Christophe. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. And by the way, I'm going to mispronounce your name. I apologize in advance. I just don't have a working mouth. Let's see. Didn't really say what they did. It's just their vision of my image. Very well done. Very cool. This is John Ward. Did all of it in Lightroom. First, globally raised exposure, did lens correction, straightened the image, tweaked highlights and shadows a little bit, masked the grass, added sharpening clarity, and lightened the shadows plus saturation, then masked the rocks to the right and added to the right and lightened them and added clarity. then masked the post and lightened those, sharpened those, and added clarity. Then added a gradient to the top of the sky to add dehaze, and just generally tweaked vibrance and tone. Thank you very much, John. Very cool. This is Michael Lucchini. Let's see. Adobe Camera Raw did lens corrections, chromatic aberrations, alignment correction, and crop. Photoshop luminosity masking to blend the sky in the foreground. Dodge and burn, warming filter, HSL and levels. Then to the Nick collection, selective raw sharpening and dynamic contrast. Very nicely done, Mike. This is by Raphael Karchik Keynes. Let's see. Lightroom and Silver Effects Pro 2. Flip the image horizontally. I think this is the third one that people have done that. Very cool. Made a small crop. Use a linear filter to emphasize the sky on brush to increase the contrast and presence of the grass. Also a brush to emphasize the wooden poles a bit. The whole idea makes a dramatic scene. And his whole idea, his whole goal was to make a dramatic scene. Sorry. Totally butchered that, Raphael. I apologize. It's very cool, though. Very nicely done. This is from Dennis Dickinson. Let's see. Used On1 Photo Raw 2019. He cropped it, removed a few items. Made basic tonal adjustments. Made multiple local adjustments. Added filters. He added mask for each of the filters to localize those effects. He used bleach bypass, color enhancer, lens blur, dynamic contrast, a big softy vignette, and exported it. Very cool. Very well done. This one's by Art Geerten. Again, I apologize for mangling everyone's name. I processed entirely in On1 Photo Raw 2019, adjusted lightly for tone and color, then applied a soft vignette and a LUT titled Warm and Soft Pastel, which was created by Matt Kozlowski. Resized it, and that was it. Very cool. This is Ozzy Alfonso. Ozzy, let's see what we did here. He enhanced the clouds, added more contrast, lightened the three poles to bring out the texture and color, did a little lightening to the distant horizon, increased the vibrancy in the foreground grass, and gave it a touch of vignetting to give it a more attention to the center of the sky and the reflections. I don't know what he used. I think he used Lightroom, but I'm not sure. This is Veronica Bunge. Let's see. Bear with me as I try to read through the email, see what they did. They used Lightroom Classic CC. They cropped it and straightened it. Did the basic panel adjustments for tone. Did some tone curve. Opened up the shadows a little bit there. HSL. Brought the saturation of red, orange, yellow, and blue up. Luminance of orange and yellow down. Lens corrections, chromatic aberration, and they enabled profile corrections. And that's it. Very nicely done, Veronica. Thank you. The next one is Charles Hacker. Let's see. Use Lightroom and Photoshop. I think. Hold on. I'm sorry it takes so long. Sometimes the emails are long and I got to kind of filter through some of what was written. Okay, looks like they did the basic tone adjustments. He included like his history panel of what he did. So he did clarity, vibrance. He cropped it and straightened it. Looks like he straightened it mainly. Did exposure adjustments, added a graduated filter, saturation adjustment, sharpness adjustment, and did the typical like tone adjustments. So pretty cool. Very well done, Charles. Thank you. Next one is Alex Glassman. Wanted a very high key image to focus on the post in the foreground. Used Adobe Camera Raw in Photoshop CC. Cropped image and straightened the horizon in the post. Used Luminar Flex, and inside of Luminar Flex used the high key portrait preset. Brought it back to Photoshop. Did a curves adjustment layer. Touched up the rocks. Lightened up more areas and desaturated areas. Very cool. Next one is Alan Patient. Edited on an iPad Pro. This is the first one, I think, in iPad Pro using Lightroom CC, Snapseed, and Affinity Photo. That's very cool. This is Elias Brito. Started out using Lightroom and finished it up with Silver FX Pro 2. Very cool. Very cool. This one is a Raju Lathigra. Um, let's see. Dynamic contrast was added with On1 Photo Raw 2018. Everything else was done in Lightroom. He added dehaze, 50% dehaze to really change the mood of the image. Brush and adjusted exposure on the foreground grass, adjusted temperature, a grad filter, 4 different radial filters to make local adjustments to the highlights of the brightest spots in the sky and in the middle of the filter. That's it. Very cool. Very nicely done. Renee Deerover. Let's see, Renee. First aligned and transformed the image a little in Lightroom and then transferred it to Luminar Flex, where Renee tried to give it a smooth, painterly, and soft look using curves and the Orton effect. Yes, very well done. Very cool. This is Carol DeLuca. Let's see. Used Photoshop Camera Raw to make some tonal adjustments. Wanted to bring out the clarity of the clouds in the wood. Wanted to make the wood look like you could almost touch it. Yeah, that's cool. So process it from that point in Aurora HDR using the Architecture Bright filter. It brought out some of the yellow and then boosted the yellow saturation a bit more. Yeah, very cool. Very well done. I like how everyone has a vision ahead of time and they use the tools to get them to their vision. Very neat. This is Berem Cooper. Or is it Cooper Berem? I'm sorry, but Berem. That's the first name. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Bear with me. Opened up the DNG file in Easy HDR and created an HDR from the single raw file. Using layers in Easy HDR, they increased the saturation of the grass, changed the hue of the timber post, darkened the skies a bit, and saved the file as a JPEG. Open the JPEG file, and I'm not familiar with this one. LR Fan View, or is it IR Fan View? And resampled the long edge to 2000 pixels because it lost a little bit of the sharpness due to the resampling, then sharpened it by 10%, saved it. Brought the image into Luminar, added some structure to the glass, added some sun rays shining from behind the clouds, and made that section a bit golden and applied a vignette. That's it. Very cool. This one is Ed Davis. Let's see. Really didn't say what he did, except he kind of said that hopes it doesn't look too sloppy. No, it looks great. Very well done, Ed Davis. I like the border too. Very cool. Owen Slattery. Let's see. All in Lightroom. Initially worked on the color image, adjusted highlights down, shadows up, brushed in some light from the horizon, cooled the temp a little, burned the grass in the foreground, and cropped to rule of thirds from the right. Then thought he tried in black and white, and like that, added a grad filter to lift the sky, and finally a slight blue filter. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Definitely works. And Peter Baji, let's see. Didn't really write what he did, but there's Peter's version. That's pretty cool. Here's Keith Pound. Let's see. Long-time Lightroom user, but has been using Luminar 3 for a few days and wanted to try that with this. Just didn't do a lot, just straightened it, corrected the lens, used the AI tools. Those are the artificial intelligence tools that are inside of Luminar. Greened up the foreground a little and added a little bit of clarity and sharpening in a small vignette. Very well done. Very cool. Here is Vince Brashear. Let's see. Wanted to emphasize the cold, use Affinity Photo, and edited in the raw persona. Increase the exposure a little bit, increase the black point a little bit, increase the brightness to the highlights clip, then brought it back down to where it was just a tiny bit of clipping to the brightest parts of the sky. Increased clarity, adjusted the white balance towards the cool side, adjusted shadows up to bring more lift to the foreground, made a slight S-curve tone adjustment, and very cool. Yeah, that's very neat. Very cool looking shot there. Tom Hawkins. Processed in Lightroom only. Just basically did their normal processing. And thought black and white was more dramatic. Thought, here, why don't I just read exactly what they wrote? I went through my normal post-processing and didn't like it. Kind of a flat photo, so I thought black and white would be best for me. There, that better expresses what he meant. This is Elias Sarantopoulos. Oh boy, Elias Sarantopoulos. Again, I'm sorry. Let's see. Used Luminar 3 for this one for a change. Guess they don't normally use Luminar 3. Added a texture file and then used the brush to mask out unwanted areas and a small sun ray, which I hope you can see. Actually, I don't see the sun ray, but it's cool. I like it. I can see your brush, for the texture. That's neat. Let's see. George didn't write what they used, but there's George's rendition of the image. Very cool. I don't think over 100 images, I don't think we've had two that were the same yet. It's really, I know it's probably impossible to have two the same, but some are close, but not really even that close. The next one is Chuck Freeze. Use Lightroom Classic CC, did the tonal adjustments, highlights, shadows, all that stuff. Sharpening, added quite a bit of sharpening, brought the amount up to 89 with a 2.2 radius. Masking at 66, added noise reduction. Transform Auto, then brought it to Nick Color Effects Pro 4. Detail extraction, contrast, saturation. Back to Lightroom, added some exposure. Let's see. That's it, I think. So very well done. Very cool, Chuck. Next image is from Mike Barnes. Let's see. Edited in Luminar 3. Filters used in the raw develop workspace of Luminar 3. Minor adjustments in exposure, contrast, highlights, whites, blacks. Added the Accent AI filter. Structure, negative structure to smooth out the water. Positive structure for the wooden poles and rocks. Slight bit of radiance. Minor vignette and a minor increase with inner brightness. Wanted to achieve a more dramatic look as the clouds look threatening. Plus, bring out some detail in the foreground. Yep, that looks cool. Yep, you definitely achieved it. Achieved what you were looking for, and it looks good. Next one is Peter Kirby. Basic processing in Lightroom Classic CC. Converted to black and white in Silver Effects Pro 2 using the Fine Art Process preset. And that looks pretty cool. Very nice. Next one is Mike Blackwell. Processed entirely in Lightroom with a slight cool tint and minor grain. Chose black and white because he felt the cloud lent itself to that type of treatment. Very nice. And sorry, I forgot to turn off my notifications up there to interrupt us so rudely. Okay, next one is Pedro Cote. Opened in Photoshop. Set all the automatic levels to 0 in Camera Raw. Use the camera standard profile, white balance to daylight. Auto tone adjustments, then adjusted basic tone settings. Added a vignette. Reopened in Photoshop. Opened in the Nick Collection Silver X Pro 2. Added the High Structure 005 preset. Increased structure. Red filter. Sit Coffee 12 at 15%. Back to Photoshop. Increased very slightly the contrast and curves. Selected the 3 poles on the right. Increased contrast. Used burn and dodge tools on the poles on the right. Nick raw pre-sharpener and sharpened very little. And that's it. He exported the image. Very neat. Next one is Scott Poapst. Didn't write what they did, but this is Scott's rendition of the image. And that's a little blurry. It's just kind of small, 944 by 343. All right, next one is Derek Shearer. Let's see. He did many edits to the photo, too many to mention. So that's pretty cool, though. Did a nice job. Thank you, Derek. And this is Don Barton. Let's see. His objective with it was to edit to enhance the sky with warm coloring and focus the viewer's attention to the center of the photo where the light is breaking through. In Lightroom, I used dodge and burn, graduated filters, and radial filters to achieve this. Yes, definitely did. Yeah, normally for people that are new to post-processing or even photography, when someone looks at an image, we tend to look at the brightest part of the image and we don't look at the darker parts as much. And that's what Don was going for here. So he made everything around it relatively dark. So mainly we'd focus on this brighter part in the middle. And he definitely achieved that. Next one is Ken Falwell. So let's see. Use Lightroom Classic CC for the majority and added some effects with On1 Photo Raw 2019. Cropped and straightened first and use a gradient to adjust tone to the sky. Use several brushes to lighten the post and then enhance the color of the highlights in the sky near the horizon. Brush the snow to whiten it. I saw a lot of people are doing, that to the snow. That's cool. Then sent it to On1. Added a sunshine filter as well as brushing the post with some dynamic contrast. And that's pretty cool. Very neat. And I think this is our last one today. Bruce Fulster, edited in Lightroom, Photoshop, and Topaz Impression. Didn't write exactly what Bruce did, but that's pretty cool. Very artful on that one, so we'll end with a very arty one. That's very nice. Again, I'd like to just thank everyone for participating. I really do appreciate everyone's enthusiasm. I'm sorry I mucked it up so much, but going forward after this week, hopefully we could fall into a groove where it's a little more interesting for everyone, because I know for some of you going through all these might be a little more tedious than it is for others. Again, all the images now before midnight, April 11th, are done. So now midnight Eastern Daylight Time, so the time it is in New York City. So if you sent me your image, whatever time your time is, when it comes into my mailbox is going to show my time. So if my mailbox was from midnight earlier, then we should have covered your image in one of the 4 videos already. If I didn't cover your image, then that means it got screwed up somewhere. Either it got sent when my mailbox was full for that brief time a few nights ago, or something got, in the mail transfer got screwed up, which is not as likely. And what is most likely is I screwed up somehow and lost it. And I apologize in advance if that is, but please send it again, and I'll do it in our next video. Okay? And all the images have to be here no later than this coming Saturday. Anything after that, I won't be doing because we're going to be starting a new image with new rules, so we don't do it like this anymore. So again, thank you. I really do appreciate each and every one of you that watch my videos, that are participating in this project. It's really cool. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys soon.